organization sponsored by the city that self-governs and helps with city issues. This is our public meeting. We are elected by the citizens in our neighborhood to represent them with the city. We have a packed agenda tonight, so I'm going to just quickly introduce our officers. We have Konnette Etheridge, who is our secretary and BCCI representative. We have our treasurer, Annie. We have our city representative, Miles Glowacki. I'm the chair. Ryan is a board member. And who else? Juanita is with us. Missing so far is Reggie. Okay. With that, let's go right to our parks update because we have a packed agenda. So Liana, could you get started? And if you have something to share, I can stop sharing.
Oh no, I'm good. I'm just gonna share verbally what I've got here. Lots of announcements. I'll try to be quick. Summer registration is open right now. We also have hiring. THPRD is hiring seasonal and part-time positions. If you're interested, we'll be having a job fair on Wednesday, May 19th. Also recruiting for our RISE youth volunteers. And that's recruiting teens aged 14 plus interested in training as youth leaders. So we would love to get anyone you think might be interested into that. So the other thing we have is lots of one-day volunteer opportunities coming up. And some of them you may already know in Fir Grove Park. And then also not far from you all in Memorial Day, staff are working with American Legion, Post 124 to support a Memorial Day commemoration, excuse me, at Veterans Memorial Park. So that'll be a really good event if you're out that way. Really big thing that's coming up close to you all, technically in the Vos neighborhood, but close to you all, is we are having our Spring with Family and Friends event this Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. to 1, and that's at Vos Elementary School. And that is going to be a fun event, including a design workshop for the new park going to Baker and Lombard. And then we're going to have some other activities and fun free giveaways for folks. We also have a couple other things that might be relevant to you all. The mobile rec just received a grant from Sprint, and they are going to be doing a lot of new programs. We already send mobile rec and nature mobile to a lot of the schools and apartment complexes in your area. So keep an eye out for those if you're interested. And then just a couple fun announcements. Bird watching is superb right now. Some special sites that we recommend are Greenway Park, Commonwealth Lake, and Bronson Creek. Also, wildflowers are really good right now, Whispering Woods and Jordan Woods, the nature park as well. So we highly recommend those. And then if you are interested in trails, Beaverton Creek Trail is a new trail that we're working on right now. You can join, if you're interested in learning more about that project, you can join the virtual meeting on May 20th and 6:00 p.m. And you can check out the website for any of these, including that. And as always, Adam, I will send you all of these updates. Any questions on those or anything else?
We got some communication from the general manager of the park district and from a couple of the board members about our resolution on the indigenous naming. Has there been any activity on that since the communications?
No, I'm imagining that you received an email from Doug Minke. Is that right? Yeah. No, there's nothing yet. And I think what's happening now is just a matter of when we would actually be naming that site is when that would move forward. And that's not something that's on the docket to be named right now, but when it is, then that's when your proposal will come up. That particular area is not up for naming because there's not, it's one of those situations where as soon as we name it, we need to make sure that there is enough infrastructure. It starts bringing people, a lot of people from outside the neighborhood to that area. So we want to be ready for that when that happens. So we're not quite at that point of naming that particular site right now. But when we do get to that point, that's when your memo is going to come up. So if there is any other news that comes up around that, I will be your point person for sure, and I will let you know. And then if you have additional questions for Doug, you can always email him directly too.
I see Reggie is not with us tonight. I am certain he has questions.
Okay, and he can reach out to me via email if he wants to too, anytime. I'll be happy to check in with him either one-on-one or through email.
Does anyone else have questions for the Park District? All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Normally I would stick through the whole meeting because I love to hear all the updates, but I do have to cut out early a little bit this evening. But thank you all so much for your time. I'll see you next time.
All right. Next, we're going to shift to police, and we have a special guest tonight from the Washington County Sheriff's Office. But let's have Officer Barrett start out. And Annie, can you please be ready with your questions because we want to make sure those get addressed. So Officer Barrett, if you want to give your update, and then we can have the sergeant from the Sheriff's Office take over after that when you're ready.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, this week is National Police Week. If you see officers out in the community wearing black bands across their badges, it is a week where we remember the men and women that we have lost in this profession. So that's something that's going on right now. Last month, I think it was Annette that had questions about the speed vans. Was that correct? Perfect. So I got some information from you with regards to our vans and some of the data and how that's collected. We currently do not have a van that monitors anything on Southwest 140th. We do, however, have 121 active locations where those vans sit. And in any given week, they sit at 28 different locations throughout that week. How those locations are picked, I am not certain. But I know that they do have an emphasis, like school districts when school is in session, highways when we're expecting maybe higher traffic due to, rush hours or things like that. With regards to Barlow and Wilson, we do, so I had them do 3 months, January, February, March. For Barlow, we had 23 total deployments. That's what we call them when the van is in location. While it was sitting there, it generated 43 citations mailed. On Wilson, it was deployed 10 different times and 0 citations were mailed. For those of you that don't quite understand the threshold for those are set to capture violators at 10 miles per hour and higher. So anything under 10 miles an hour, it's not going to capture, nor do I think that we collect that data. Additionally, we can request to have new locations put into those systems. What that takes is a conversation out to the vendor, requesting them to put that location in the system. Sometimes it also qualifies for site surveys for the vendor and or us to go out and take measurements, kind of analyze that speed. And then depending on the roadway, sometimes we have to get city council involved. So it is a much bigger program than even I probably knew. And I learned a little bit last month when I started asking some questions. So Konnette, if you have any additional questions for that, I'm happy to go back and seek out some more information. Konnette, do you want to answer any questions about that now so that we can move on to Sergeant DiPietro's?
Officer Barrett, I think you mentioned 140th, and what was meant was 130th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And maybe that was 130th is a busy high speed.
Yeah, and I can say that I was the one who brought that up, and I know that you've had the vans out. It's at the intersection of 130th and 22nd, which is right next to the park, and that is also the concern. It is a high speed traffic area, and you've had the vans there. So if at the next meeting or in between meetings, I would be very curious to hear what the data was there.
Yep, I'll send a follow-up email for that. And then if I can email it directly to Adam, can Adam get it out to you?
Yes, we will get it out.
Okay. So Annie, with regards to guest speaker of Sergeant DiPietro, I learned a couple days ago that he was being requested in. So we're both prepared to kind of talk about what we can and can't talk about and our individual inputs to that. But just so that we don't give you long-winded information, can you kind of target exactly what you're looking for, and then we'll decide.
Yeah. So with for those who aren't aware, there was an incident overnight over by the Nike facility where it, and correct me if I'm getting some of this information wrong, but it was an off-duty officer, right? But in a patrol vehicle, that hit and struck and killed a pedestrian. And I guess I know that the mayor of Beaverton put out a statement, and that, you know, the Beaverton police were there. But since then, there hasn't been any other communication, and all that's been released to the public right now is that there's an ongoing investigation. And so I guess my question a little bit is just what can be shared at this point, and kind of what is the time frame for more information being shared with the public? Just because as a resident, I'm just curious of understanding that there's time being taken, and that obviously, you know, that nothing can be shared or sometimes things can't be shared immediately, but wanting to make sure that this information does get shared with the public, and especially with everything going on nationally, just wanting to have some oversight on that, and making sure that there is communication with the public when there can be.
Okay, so I will clarify a little bit first. I'll point you to two different places where you can get some information on your own, but then I will kind of defer to Sergeant DiPietro to give his input. He has a unique lens in that he does public information. That's his job, right? So, you know, he can touch to that involvement, and then I can kind of go off on a tangent with regards to Beaverton Police's input into this investigation. First and foremost, the deputy was on duty when this happened. So he was doing his job. He was in a marked patrol vehicle. So that's the first thing I wanted to make sure that I cleared up, was that he was on duty in a police car. With that said, there's two different avenues that you can seek some information with this case particularly, which is press releases that the Beaverton Police Department pushes out. I believe the Washington County Sheriff's Office probably put some of those out as well, but also the Washington County District Attorney's Office also put out a charging decision. And within that charging decision outlines some of the bigger basic facts surrounding that case and why they ultimately came to the decision that they made. Okay, so there's three different places where you can go to get some additional information should you choose to look for that. I will defer to Sergeant DiPietro now, just to maybe fill in some of those other gaps. And then, like I said, I'll finish up on what our side of that is when we're talking about interagency, okay?
Yeah, so with us, obviously we responded right away. And when the incident happened, our deputy was immediately removed from the scene after others arrived. He was put on critical incident protocol with, as you guys all know, any kind of shooting or a large incident. In this case, it falls right under that critical incident protocol. He went back to our East Precinct. If you're not familiar, that's on Murray, just north of TV Highway. And that's when CART was called in, which is the crash analysis reconstruction team. That is run by the Sheriff's Office, but it's a multi-agency team. So we have members from Hillsborough on that. We have members from Beaverton on there, Tiger, Tualatin, etc. It comes and goes, some from other agencies, especially smaller agencies. They don't always fulfill a position, but they do when they have the power to do so. In this specific case, our CART team was able to say, look, we understand that one of the Washington County Sheriff's Office deputies is involved in this. We're allowing Beaverton police officers who are members of the CART team to take over the entire investigation. So there's two kinds of an investigation when it comes to CART. The actual crash analysis, so the actual reconstruction of the scene, and then there's the investigative side of that. So both of those were both Beaverton officers. I believe one of them was actually a detective, and they took over that. Additionally, that next point, as Officer Barrett said, the press release was pushed out by the Beaverton Police Department. I believe it's on their website. As for the charging decision, I know that the DA's office has not put out a press release on it, but I have a copy of it. Adam, I would be more than happy to email that to you if you would like to share that within your group. And like Officer Barrett said, it outlines the incident of everything that happened and the steps that went through as part of the investigation to lead to the conclusion that the DA came to. So is there any other questions, kind of maybe something I didn't touch on?
Any,
Briefly, can you share what the DA's decision was?
Yeah, I have no problem saying that. That was, they ended up coming to the conclusion that the deputy was actually going under the speed limit. He had the right of way, and the individual who actually got hit by the car stepped right out in front of him. The district attorney said no criminal charges would be filed against the deputy. The deputy is still on administrative leave, but he will be back to work relatively soon. As you can imagine, in any kind of critical incident, it is very traumatic for the individual. Everyone responds a little bit differently, and so we want to make sure that our deputy, when he comes back to work, he is able to do his job. So that's why he is on still administrative leave. But I believe there are plans for him to come back. I just don't know the exact date.
Mm-hmm. That is helpful. I guess my only piece and why I kind of had asked Adam to put this on the agenda is that, like I said, I as a Beaverton resident got the public notice from Mayor Beatty, and then have been trying to follow up the last few weeks and trying to kind of find things. I will say that when I went on to, and I could find things through the Beaverton Police Department, but when I went onto the Washington County Sheriff's Office website and your Twitter account, there was no even mention of this incident. And then there was every new local news article covered it the day after, but then there was no follow-up of this is how you can check back, this is how you can get information. And so with the public feeling as though, you know, wanting to have more, some more public insight, and having such high profile cases with police involvement nationwide, I guess my kind of personal commentary would be that if there could be more understanding that, you know, some of these pieces need to be investigated first before public information can be disseminated, but making sure that that does get disseminated. And that's why I had put this on the agenda. So I'm done sharing my pieces. So if anyone else has anything or wants to continue.
Just to touch on that.
I had a question. Sorry.
Do you mind if I just touch on that real quick? And you had mentioned that there was nothing on our Twitter website or anything along those lines, or Facebook, and that's intentional. We stay completely impartial. We allow Beaverton Police Departments to do their investigation, and we don't want to make it look like we're trying to sway the case to go one way or another. We step back. There's a criminal investigation that goes along with any kind of major critical incident like this, and we allow the outside agency to do that investigation. And we don't want to look like we're trying to step into it. So that's why you didn't see anything. If someone were to call us, we let them know, hey, go to Beaverton Police. They're the ones who are leading this investigation. Just with a major crimes incident, such as an officer-involved shooting, we'll actually direct them to the district attorney's office because they're the ones who lead those investigations, not one of the agencies who's involved, if that makes sense to you.
Konnette?
Yeah, so if there is an ongoing problem as far as pedestrians at that site, who would look into that and
I
make a
can
recommendation?
maybe touch on that if you're okay with it. All crash data is collected through the state. So whenever a crash reaches a certain requirement, whether it's a vehicle was towed, damage is above $2,500, a report is written, somebody is hurt or injured, or in this case, maybe even a fatal, all of that information is shipped off to DMV, which ultimately ends up in ODOT's lab. They use that information to make decisions with regards to speed limits, to intersections, to traffic signals, to, you guys are talking about roundabouts, different, traffic calming things that we can use to help fix issues. So all of that data is uploaded to the state. Our part in that is simply making the notification to them that this happened, this car was damaged, this much damage done to that car, or this person was hurt and these were their injuries.
And what state office is that? Would that be?
DMV and ODOT.
Okay.
Okay. Real quickly, Sergeant DiPietro, I think you mentioned the district attorney's decision. Is that separate from the Beaverton Police's investigation, or is the Beaverton Police investigation now over because that fed into the district attorney?
Officer Barrett, do you want to take that one?
So in order for a district attorney to make a decision regarding a case that we have filed, reports need to be done. The investigation needs to be kind of concluded and sent over in a package deal. They evaluate the information, they read everything. I believe if they have questions, they can reach back out to us to do that. And then they take everything, they compare that to any possible laws that could have been committed and find out whether or not there was any intent, if there was any malicious behavior, any reckless behavior that would qualify for any crime. If they decide that with all the information and evidence that they have through the investigation that we have provided them, if they cannot charge anything, they will stay that and they will write it plain in language. In this case, there is no evidence to show that Corporal Shaw's attention was otherwise divert. Like they go through and kind of, go back on the information and then say, because of that, we will not file anything in case it's closed. Like they put a period, a full stop at the end of that, case close, and kind of putting it to bed.
And if we could, one more question, Officer or Sergeant DiPietro. About a year ago, you had a webcast with the sheriff and the district attorney, and I think you hosted it. Is that a regular thing, or is that just a pandemic thing? I think we might want to attend those in the future.
That was a unique thing that we had tried. We were putting podcasts together, video podcasts, to try to reach out to our community. When the pandemic started, my group, which is public affairs, we had so many public events where we were able to go out, engage with the community, just talk with people, whether it's about a current event or they're just getting to know our job, whatever it may be. And we really enjoyed doing that because it brought us together, law enforcement and the community. Well, with COVID, that wasn't able to happen. And we felt that the best thing we could at least do is get some information out there. So you'll see a couple of them on our Facebook account. They're actually also still on our YouTube account. If you type in Washington County Sheriff's Office on either one, Facebook or YouTube, you'll find us. And you can find all the videos. They're still up there and you can go watch them. We didn't get as many viewers that we thought we would, so we ended up discontinuing them. And now that COVID's slowly coming to an end, hopefully, and we're starting to maybe plan events this summer, I don't anticipate them coming back, but if they do, they would be for larger discussions, such as the one you saw, which was between the district attorney and the sheriff, just talking about the current events, especially at that time, which was COVID-19.
Anybody else like to ask a question of the sheriff's office while they're still here? Including people on the phone, it's *6 to unmute. And everyone who was on the phone is welcome to speak up if you'd like to ask a question. All right, I'm not hearing anything. So we appreciate your time and thank you for making it, and nice background too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarge. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. And Adam, if you don't mind throwing your email address in there and I can forward you that document.
Sure. There we go.
Thank you. I will get this over to you within the next 15 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure being here.
Officer
Thanks
Barrett.
for coming.
Officer Barrett, maybe we could return to the speed monitoring topic for a little bit.
Yes.
I know you briefly covered some areas where you had done some monitorings,
Mhm.
and including the surprising one of 0 tickets written on Wilson.
Mhm.
That sounds like something might have been wrong, because that's a near miss it's a constant near miss street with those two schools on it.
Okay.
I'm, is it
I'm
possible that
wondering,
something was wrong with the machines or?
Constant near miss as in like pedestrians almost being like, what do you mean by that?
During busy times, it is, especially at the stop signs and at street crossings, it is very difficult to get someone to yield. And speeds are high. I'm not surprised about the Barlow thing, but I am surprised that you got 0 on Wilson.
So I guess to be clear, we know that the vans only do speed. Is that
Yes,
accurate? Okay.
I understood that.
So with regards to like the fail to yield, that might be something that's more in my lane. I can sit on stop signs. I've been wreaking havoc in other neighborhoods. People see me and some of them really like me. They give me the thumbs up because they're happy I'm there. And then other people are not so happy. So you're saying that Wilson and what is the problem?
Wilson in front of the middle school.
Okay.
And Wilson in front of the elementary school.
It's both schools. Okay.
Yeah, both in
And-
school zones, frequent failures stop. And then Wilson and Hart, mostly on the Hart directions. I carry a rock when I walk my dog. Because
Okay.
I'd rather break someone's window than have them hit me.
Okay.
I know I could probably be charged with a crime, but better than being in the hospital. We really need to do something about Hart. With the traffic increasing,
Yeah.
it's only a matter of time before we have a fatality or a major accident with the failure to yields and failure to stop incidents. And I think Annie is trying to say something, so I'll just let you talk.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a question. If you are going to do, put an officer there and look, what is your jurisdiction with school bus drivers?
Bus drivers that don't also stop, don't adhere to things.
That are speeding. So,
Yeah.
okay, because what has been, with talking to residents in terms of all this traffic calming issues, and so Wilson was one of the ones that failed. And several neighbors on Wilson said that one of the major issues was that the school buses will also speed and potentially be over 10 miles an hour down the street. So just wanted to know.
Yeah, we can absolutely write school bus drivers tickets. We can write anybody. I could write another officer a ticket. So they are not exempt. And I'm kind of shocked by that because they're the first to let us know when people don't stop for their stop signs that they, put out when they're picking kids up. I will spend more time on Wilson specifically. I do have officers that work hard fairly regularly, myself included. But I will spend some time on Wilson near the schools. I think we've got a couple more weeks of kids being physically in the schools. So that gives me a little bit more to, I think, watch and look for. I will get the data of 1/30th. I apologize for misgetting that. That is 100% my fault. And I'll pay attention to the school buses as well.
and I'm wondering if monitoring that area during school hours or during the school designated school hour.
The
would be-
pickup and drop off times.
Yeah,
Yep.
would be. Also, there's another area on Sorrento. A specialty bus is now stopping at a family's home because of a child there that needs to use specialty school bus.
Okay.
And she's complained of people honking, trying to get around the school bus before the lights turn red and that sort of thing. So
Okay.
I told her I would pass that on.
Perfect. And you guys are using the traffic complaint form online for some of this stuff, or are you guys not doing that as well?
We can start doing it.
Please do. It will still come to me, but it just serves as another purpose to get documented for you guys as well. Yeah, please submit them. Tell your neighbors to submit them. The more people, kind of the squeaky wheel gets the attention, right? The more people that send that stuff in, the more likely we are to maybe get some more movement.
Okay.
So with that, kind of as a one follow-up question, what are your limitations, or what is the process if, for example, if there's a traffic complaint about a repeat offender, for example, that is continually driving rapidly through the neighborhood and has a license plate number, you have to see that in action then for that to become a ticket? Or like, how does that process work? Like if you get 7 complaints about one specific resident, what are your limitations, and what do you do with that information?
A couple different routes I can go. First and foremost, I'm going to run the plate and I'm going to find out where that person lives. If I can park in a manner that will allow me to either follow the person or park somewhere where I know that maybe they're going to be coming at a certain time, I can then catch them doing the behavior that you guys have described and then potentially issue citations for that. If I'm unsuccessful doing that, at the bare minimum, I can contact that driver and say, hey, listen, I have complaint after complaint after complaint of your behavior. It's not acceptable. I know that you've been put on kind of notice. Sometimes that in and of itself is enough for people to change their behavior. Sometimes they do need that fine. Sometimes they, are going to do what they're going to do no matter what. But unfortunately for me to issue a citation, I do in fact have to see the violation, or another police officer has to see that violation and tell me about it, and I can write it based on their observation, if that makes sense.
If we get a video of the incidents, is that good enough for showing an officer?
Not to write the ticket, but again, I can take that and show it to them and say, listen, you're put on notice. People are sending me your license plate. They're sending me videos. I have video. I will show it to you. But I can't do that, unfortunately.
Any other questions on any topic for Officer Barrett? All right, it looks like you're off the hook.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna stick around in case you guys have questions that come back up about this or the Washington County incident in particular. Okay.
We actually have a traffic calming thing on the agenda, and let's pull it up next. Konnette, I believe you have something that you wanted shared. Is that right?
Yes, actually, let's start with that. That will help both what I say about it and what Adam, you might have to say as well. So just as kind of a reminder, we were receiving a lot of comments from Highland neighbors, residents that about the traffic calming projects and their failure in our neighborhood. We actually had 3 different projects that were since 2018 that were in our neighborhood. And the process is very long and thorough. It begins with a verification, and this, Officer Barrett, might be of interest to you. It begins with a verification that there is a traffic problem on that neighborhood. The city then will monitor speeds, and they have to pass the rule of 85, which means that a significant number of people are speeding on that road. Then it goes on to a verification, a vote that verifies people do want to continue with the project, and from there a project design and funding is secured. After that comes a voting process. All 3 of our projects made it to this voting process, which is the very final piece, and then we're held up at that point. You can see the total number of yes votes, the total number of no votes, and the total votes altogether, and the percentage not returned. our concern is that in our three projects, the failed votes seem to carry the be the most important thing as to why one of the projects didn't carry. So if you take a look at this data, it kind of illustrates that. So in response to this, there were two activities. Adam was heading up one, which is to survey the Highland neighborhood about our continued concerns about traffic calming issues. And then mine was to contact BCCI and talk with them about the issues for neighborhoods in general. I'll let Adam kind of update you on what was done, a really wonderful effort, what was done on the Highland neighborhood side. On the BCCI side, we actually went to the Traffic Commission, told them of our concerns, continued concerns, and were given kind of a list of things that they wanted us to do and come back to them with, which we have done. That was to review some of the data. This is a piece of that data. To go to all of the neighborhood associations and get feedback from them as to their experience and concerns about traffic calming and the vote process. And then to report back to them. And that's what we've been in the process of doing. However, in the interim, we were notified that the city council was going to have traffic calming on their agenda, which it did. And what we discovered, both Adam and I went to that and spoke from our individual perspectives about what we were doing and our concerns for traffic calming. And then the council took over, and they had mentioned that they have consistent feedback themselves about concerns for traffic within the neighborhoods, that there is support for funding beyond what is designated by the traffic calming process if a proposal is brought to them, a pledge to circle back, but that they want something done about the traffic, about, I think the traffic, I would say the voting process in particular, but also the traffic calming process in general. So we'll be meeting on June 3rd to present our data and to make our proposals. And then Adam, go ahead if you would like to.
Yeah. So we have been soliciting testimony with a letter that is from Konnette and myself that we hand delivered to 300 and something doors about 3 weeks ago. And testimony is coming in, although we haven't been able to get a copy of it yet. And everyone who's here, I hope that if you haven't already written some, the testimony will be considered at the June Traffic Commission meeting. The City Council is on board with us, as Konnette mentioned, and now we just need to ask for what we want in the traffic calming program, and telling stories really about what happens in front of your house, how that affects you, children, anything you want to share. There is potentially some resistance to changing the program, but the more testimony we get, the better. However you feel about it, especially the two failed projects in school areas. That said, we have some more time to get testimony out, and Annie will be writing her own letter, and she's raising her hand. I'll give you a minute. In her area, and Kate, I see you're on. If you are willing, we would like you to do the same, tell your own story about you know, what you did, what you've done. We'll print it for you, give it to you, and you can hand deliver it if you want. That's what Annie's going to do. And asking people to testify. We have until the first week of June to get this done, to get all the testimony in. So we have a little bit of time left. That said, I just want to make sure we get to a resolution. So Konnette, can you make sure that stays queued up?
Yes.
And
so-
Annie, why don't you go ahead and talk? I see you raised your hand.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that I am finalizing the letter as well tonight, and it's really for anyone who's listening to the call and hasn't been involved in this process. It is a great way to have whatever your opinion shared in a way that is actually hopefully going to move forward and make changes. And kind of, at least on my part, having the voting piece change seems like the first piece, but then also hopefully having a broader discussion, because with every conversation that I've had with residents, I talked to a neighbor who is part of the 130th failed project, which is the third project that failed in our neighborhood, which isn't a school district, but is right next to a park. And I every day watch kids walk to school during that. So all three projects in our neighborhood have been involving children. And so it's every resident says, well, sure, the voting piece seems like it needs to be changed, but I also have X, Y, and Z concern. So it seems like this, hopefully this leads to a broader discussion. Like June meeting, it's really important that the traffic commission looks and changes their voting if enough residents say that this is what they want. You know, if residents have different opinions, and they can share those opinions. But then this hopefully brings up broader changes as well.
And that said, there is a joint letter that I had a part in writing, and a joint resolution that other NACs have passed. And let's consider that now. So Konnette, could you present it and talk to it?
Yes, I will. If you want to bring that, I think it's helpful to have that table up again, Miles, if you could. Miles. Oh, I'm impatient, I guess. Okay, the current practice is that 67% of returned votes I'm sorry, 67%. Why am I getting kind of?
67% affirmative votes.
Yes, of affirmative votes of the total votes sent out is required in order to for the resolution to pass. Any votes not returned are included in the no vote category. And so that is limits the ability of a yes vote to have a true meaning in and very often, and in our experience, has determined the outcome despite large percentages of yes votes being returned. I believe that the proposal is that with a 67% of the total votes returned, that 67% yes votes is a pass votes, and that non-returned votes are not included in the totals. Is that right, Adam? Because I think it was your.
I actually asked for a double majority, but the VCCI folks may have changed it. Do you have the text of the amendment?
Well,
Or the
yeah.
resolution?
There isn't an official resolution. This was that was a suggestion on a that was, I think what I need to ask for now is that the Traffic Commission consider changing the voting procedures to not include not returned votes in to the total. they will take that proposal and make a decision about how they can implement that, is my understanding.
Okay, that sounds like a motion.
And I'd like to make a motion that we accept that, that we accept the proposal to be submitted to the Traffic Commission, that non-return votes are not included in total votes in that final survey vote count.
Okay. Is there a second on the motion?
May I just add something to this? Can you hear me first of all?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it strikes me that those who would vote yes on any position would probably be more activated voters, let's put it that way. And those who may not vote at all, or of course vote negative, would not necessarily go along with whatever the position is, whatever it is, whether it's traffic calming or anything else. So I feel like the position of that you're proposing does favor the minority as opposed to favoring the majority, who just might not be activated voters.
Well, what we've been concerned about is if you look under the yes votes on Barlow and the Wilson projects, and actually Bonnie Bray's project, they were all majority votes. And yeah.
Can I also add two kind of clarifying pieces on that? One, so in this situation, so in our neighborhood specifically, the school district has taken the position that they don't want to vote yes or no. They want to maintain to be a neutral party. And so you automatically have a no vote at which, even though they're trying to stay neutral, but it gets tallied as a no vote. The additional piece is that on some of these streets, you have high percentage of renters, and then you get a ballot sent to both the renters and to the landlord, which sometimes you have absentee landlords or out-of-state landlords or landlords that haven't lived in the neighborhood for decades. And they are much less likely to return their votes. I know on the most recent one on Barlow, every single renter was very concerned about this and returned it with a yes vote, but it was very difficult to get the landlords to return it. And so instead of just not returning it and not having any opinion, they carried their weight of living out of state and not returning a vote carried as much weight as people living on the street that had children and were concerned about it. And so in any other election, we don't put the same weight, on national, local elections. People who don't return their votes they don't have the power. We only tally yes and no votes of people who actually take the time to vote yes or no. And you can see that on 130th, where I live, a lot of people are opposed to it. And so people have strong opinions, and if they have strong opinions that they don't want to have traffic calming, they'll have the ability to say no.
I'm glad we're talking about this. And thank you, both of you, for bringing up your thoughts on this. I think that that's true, and we're not really sure what the reasons are behind the not returned votes, or we know that a lot of the feedback that we get is that what people are really against is not traffic calming measures, but speed bumps, for instance. That seems to be a real high one. And I think that is one of the things that probably we need to deal with as a community, about what other options we might have besides speed bumps, if that is going to be something that leads people to vote against a traffic calming measure, but otherwise support traffic calming, if that makes sense.
And just a little piece of data, the city councilors were eager to fund more projects when they found out how hard this was to get done. So if we were to have these public processes that get these designed and approved, people can influence them by going to the design meetings, and that's just showing up. So if you want to oppose speed bumps, you can design that with the traffic engineers, and that is always available. So
Yeah, I
Um,
think one of the things that people are concerned about is that in this process, we go through a very long process that is time consuming and also probably costly to show that we have problems before moving forward to a design phase and allocation of funds. And then only to have a project fail, that and the problem left unaddressed, continue to be left on a proven problem left unaddressed. So I think it is a complex issue. And I guess that's why I feel I'm comfortable with asking for the voting process to be reviewed and revised. Because I do think there's other details that need to be hammered out in beyond this process as well.
are you changing your motion?
No.
Okay.
Can you, can you restate what the actual motion was that you raised?
I think we want to propose propose that the voting process be the final voting process be reviewed and revised to not include not returned votes as part of the final tally as being contributing to the no votes. And that would allow them to be, are we going on to discussion?
We need a second, and it might be
Let's
helpful,
second.
Konnette, if well, you can't second your own motion. It might be helpful if you typed your motion into the chat box.
Okay.
If we could get you to
It's
do that,
complicated.
and then maybe we can have some more discussion while we're waiting for the exact text of your motion.
If I can just add something, you brought up the point that people seem to be opposed to speed bumps as opposed to other traffic calming measures. Now, I'm between Hart and 27th, and there are 9 houses in that area. And when the proposal came to, put traffic calming on Wilson last year or whenever it was, a year and a half ago, I'm not sure. Of those 9 households in that small 1 block area, 5 of the households were opposed to the speed bump idea. 3 were for it, 2, I have no idea where they stood on it. I don't even know if they voted. So this is aside from the proposal that you're making, but just from the traffic calming method, I agree. It is the speed bump approach does seem to have some resistance for sure on Wilson. So there might be some other approaches, whether it's some sort of planter type arrangement in the middle of an intersection, that type of thing. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's just been my experience and from input I've had from the neighbors on our block.
I am so with you on that. I think that we shouldn't have to accept one form, a less desirable form of traffic calming if another one is available and could find funding support in other ways, for instance, through an appeal to the council. I think that this traffic calming process was originally designed and implemented in 1998. It had another revision in 2015. But I think there's a lot of things that and tools that could be added to the toolkit that could provide a more satisfactory type of traffic calming than what we. I'm wondering if it's not a false choice in a way. Do we have to submit to an unappealing kind of traffic calming device and not have an option for one that is more desirable?
Do you want to
That is-
present your motion now?
Yeah,
Konnette?
I am. Let me try. His comments were interesting. I just wanted to
And
listen.
Mark, I hope you've written to the neighborhood office with your opinions so that it can be considered by the traffic commission, and the city council is watching too. So your insights into not wanting speed bumps, but maybe wanting something else would be most helpful information to be sharing with the city.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You ready, Konnette?
I'm almost ready. Thank you for your patience, everybody.
Okay, so Konnette's motion is is a motion for the Highland NAC to support proposing that the final voting criteria be reviewed and possibly revised to not include non-returned votes. Do we have a second on that motion? I added a few words around it that the Highland NAC supports, because that
Thank
would
you.
be the
That's-
form of what it would be. Is there a second on this motion from a board member?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Juanita. She's still here with us. We have already discussed this, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, so with the discussion, I might want to put an amendment on this. Do we have discussion and then I would suggest an amendment, or how would that?
You
how does
can
that
amend
work?
it. You can amend it now that it's been made and seconded. So
Okay.
go ahead and tell us
I guess,
your amendment verbally.
I guess I have a question first for the board members. Do we only support wanting the traffic commission to review the final voting and not include the non-returned votes? Or do we have any opinions about what percentage total of respondents that we need to have a pass vote, and then total affirmative? Is that something that we as a board want to bring to the traffic commission, or do we just want the resolution to not include non-returned
Annie,
votes?
let's include that because that is an important piece. If only 4 people return votes, for instance, out of a total of 100 designated voters, that would probably be problematic.
So I think you're talking about a quorum requirement separate from a approval or consent requirement. And in my initial testimony to the Traffic Commission for April, I suggested a double majority requirement so that a majority of people vote in some way. And then of the people who do vote, a majority of them, their decision goes.
Okay, Adam, make that amendment into that.
Usually the chair can't amend.
Adam,
Why?
I'm starting to write it.
Okay, Annie,
Let's
so that
let
we don't
Annie
have
do it.
to-
The chair is not supposed to make motions.
Yeah.
Seconds.
They are, no. They can't-
But Adam, you were about to finish though. You said, but
So in my testimony, I suggested a double majority requirement. So a majority of return votes for a quorum, and then you take the simple majority of those who did vote.
Mhm.
And that's where I suggested, because they asked me specifically
Yeah.
in April, what do you think? That's what I told them. And I think that's fair, to require a majority of people to vote somehow.
Okay. I also agree with that sentiment. So give me just a sec. I'm putting it in language, and then I would like someone else to read it and make sure that this is what we, as the NAC board, want to submit to the Traffic Commission.
And just for the future, when we have a motion, it should be written ahead of time and submitted to the secretary. So it's
and
clear.
this is a little bit different in that this is a proposal that we're submitting. So this is something that the Traffic Commission will consider, but they aren't, and they may use pieces of it, but they're not, in my understanding is they're not bound to use this exact.
They're bound by the city council wants action and the mayor can remove them all. So they'll probably be doing something. So we might want to tell them what we want.
I'm sure they're coming prepared to be able to do something and to talk about something they think would work.
All right.
All right, last word. Okay, this is what I have. that
So Annie
summarizes
has,
exactly. So this is my
Annie has
amendment.
made an amendment, and we need a second on the amendment.
Can I read the amendment aloud so that everyone can actually
Please
hear it?
do.
The
Yeah.
Highland NAC supports that the Traffic Commission will review the traffic calming voting. We would like the commission to not include the non-return votes. We support that projects will only pass if a majority of ballots are returned, and that a majority of return ballots are in support of the traffic calming measures.
Is there a second on Annie's motion?
I'll second.
Discussion on Annie's motion. All right. So we're going to vote on the motion. This motion replaces Konnette's.
That's,
So we'll only vote on Annie's motion. And Konnette, have you copied this for the minutes?
I'm looking at it right now. There's supposed to be a way where I can, at the end of the meeting, don't sign off until I say you can, Adam,
Okay.
I took a screenshot of it, Konnette.
or I'll lose the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Further discussion? I think we're
Well,
about
I'll
to
do
wrap that up.
Only it's not showing.
Juanita, were you trying to talk?
No, I was not.
Okay. All in favor of Annie's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. That's about all the time we should spend on this tonight. I just would encourage everybody to write testimony, however you feel, so that
And
it can be
attend.
considered.
You
Yeah.
can
Adam-
attend the meeting as well.
Yeah, for future NAC meeting agenda points, I would, if other board members are in agreement, I would like to maybe return to this and see if we can make a resolution that furthers our support of increasing the funding and increasing, looking at the plan at a broader point of than just speed bumps.
There is one issue with that, Annie,
Okay,
in that the city council is having budget hearings in a week.
in a week. Okay, yeah.
So-
That's where our dilemma is, right? So because I
And-
think that if it comes from the NAC board, so if we have a few minutes at the end, I would like to make a quick resolution so that we can submit that.
Well, why
to
don't you
the
get
board.
writing?
Okay, I will do that while you continue so that I don't take up time.
Okay. All right, let's return to our agenda. We skipped an item, which I will speed up. I get public notices as your NAC chair, and there is currently a amendment to the basically cell phone and wireless standards that the city has to do, and it has a lot to do with what the FCC tells the city they have to do. It's a fairly lengthy amendment, but it's basically cell phone towers and small cell phone towers, or what they call small wireless facilities. And just for the people who may not be familiar with that, small wireless facilities are 5G basically. 5G is a shorter range, shorter wavelength, more bandwidth, so you need more towers or facilities. The city is required by the FCC to let them happen. So they have cleaned up their development code, and there's a package that goes out to hearing in front of the Planning Commission on May 26th. Why am I talking about this? It's boring, right? 5G wireless has the potential to add competition to the home internet market. And it can break some monopolistic players, something we'll get into later. That said, if you're willing and able, I would recommend that folks look up the case file for the small wireless facility text amendment that will be heard at the Planning Commission on May 26th. Consider marking it up and making some testimony. I will be doing that on my own, but it's a rather complex topic of public right-of-way or not public right-of-way, what things look like, what the maximum height is. There's all sorts of complexities there. But if you are so interested in that, please make a public testimony. And is somebody trying to step in here? You can go ahead. I guess not. Okay. Let's move on to another item, and Annie, maybe you could join in for the discussion on this one. This is called the Corner Sign Program, and this is a new education program I would like us to do. And just let me explain some background with this. Realtors especially are guilty of this. They put up marketing signs on public property and on private property without permission. This is officially not allowed by realtor training, and there's a state law against it. And but basically, it's not enforced because the city has better things to be doing, like catching speeders and crash accidents. But we often see roofers, political signs advertising the public right of way. Some examples of this are like the center of Murray, where you will see signs that don't belong to the city, state, or county. Those are not allowed. Anytime it's a public right of way and not someone's private property, you can't put a roofing sign up. You can't put a political sign up. That's not allowed. And what I would like us to do is make an education package, and that's why I call it the Corner Sign Program. So we educate people that they have the right not to display these things, and that they should take them down when they're in the public right of way and not a city, state, or county sign. So they'll be taking these stop signs down. We're talking about realtor signs, roofers, political signs, junk advertising that's getting in your way. And I was thinking we'd make a one-pager. And Annie, maybe you could step in. So we've discussed this.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically, if there's anything you want me to add, let me know, but I'm in full support of it. I think it happens a lot and the reason Adam and I talked about this is because I work as a realtor. And so it is a very common business practice that shouldn't be allowed. And we should be getting permission. And it's pretty common for people just to do it and then just say, hey, as long as no one takes it down, no loss. And if someone takes it down, then they take it down. It's kind of people's perceptions. They're like, it's better to ask forgiveness than not do it. So I'm in full support of this, and I think it's important. I think too, it's just like all of our traffic conversations. It also is, to me, important not just on a realtor sign, but like on all the advertising signs. And once you get a lot of them, and at left turns or right turns, they start to can block areas a little bit, especially when they start to kind of get bigger, and not so much in our neighborhood, but other places have a lot of balloons and a lot of much larger signage that ends up being junk as well.
Is there any comment from our city folks about this? I see Miles.
I will have to check on taking them down in the public right of way as a private citizen. If it's on your property, of course you can remove it. But I need to check on the right of way, just because of some things that have come up in the past. So
Okay.
I think, let me check on that before you recommend people do that, and make sure that.
Well, this is a multi-month, we'll write something up, propose it. Maybe you could have somebody in the city review it to make sure we're not violating anybody's rights and not making vigilantes of the citizens. But what we want to do is education package to say, you don't have to display realtor signs on your property if you don't want to. That's one big message. The other message is the public right of way, where people put signs in bioswales, center street, tree strips, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been taking them down for years, so come get me.
Adam, I was really almost going to take them down, but then I decided not to. I'll let somebody else do that. But I did call and report some recently, some political signs that were at the Murray and Hart intersection, and they were very responsive and put a work order in immediately. But they probably disappeared within 48 hours. And then 48 hours later, there were more in that same spot, which was kind of a bummer. But I emailed, and I got email response pretty quickly from the email I put in the chat. And then I also called, and somebody actually just picked up the phone the first time, talked to them. They had dispatch on the line, they put in the work order, and they did do work. And they did clean up the area too, and along with the work order, and remove the signs. But
Kate, that's really helpful. I will put that out on our social media just so people have that as an option.
Okay, so I think this will be more to come later on developing a communication package there. We need to move on, and the next section maybe is even more controversial. So this agenda
Thanks,
item
Brandon.
is about the Comcast lawsuit against the city, and then the counterclaim. And basically Comcast is trying to get out of paying taxes, and the city is asking Comcast to pay its fair share. And this is another potential education package where we tell residents about the dispute and share some of Comcast's dirty laundry. And we need to be careful here, but as long as we tell the truth, which we will, we won't get into any trouble. And Comcast has quite the rap sheet of dirty deeds. So I had floated this to some of the board members before I put it on the agenda. And basically a few things we can do is telling people how to opt out of Comcast marketing, telling them about the dispute and how it is hurting the city, and encouraging them to investigate other options. There are other larger regulatory issues where they tamper with their regulators, like the FCC filling it up with homeless people, so that hearings can't happen, that we may bring up. And I know Miles is probably a little nervous about this, but us as citizens we can share this in an education package. Like this could potentially be another one pager that we distribute on our own dime.
Adam, the issue is using that public space again, isn't it? That's what they say.
Yeah,
is being
so
kept.
the Comcast uses the public right of way to deliver services, and they have to pay for that. And the city, it costs them money to regulate that and to police it, and to ensure equal access to whoever wants to build out in it. And Comcast is suing the city to get out of paying, and the city is countersuing them that they didn't pay enough. So there's 2 lawsuits here, of which I have failed to get the text of yet, but I'm working on it. And I didn't want to go through the city to get that, just so that they're neutral here. What does the board think of doing this? Is this too much for us to bite off?
I mean,
I'm feeling like,
go ahead, Konnette. You go first.
well, I'm thinking this is more of an information kind of campaign than one where the city is taking this seriously and will address the suit. I imagine we don't need to address that. It's mainly being aware of what the issues are and what the state of the work with it are at.
What I'm suggesting is that we just tell the citizens what Comcast is
nice?
trying to do, which may not portray them in the nicest light.
I guess my concerns or my questions, and I would like to kind of hear Miles weigh in on this, is like, as a board, we are quasi-government. And so I want to do the education piece. I just don't know if it makes sense to come from the board, because I don't want, since the city is in litigation right now.
They're not going to have much comment, right?
Right.
Because they're litigating.
But are we going to get tied into that then? Because we are an independently
We're
government.
just citizens, and
Yeah, but if we use the board's power, I guess that's my only question.
let's let Miles talk.
You guys are making a lot of work for me tomorrow. I don't know the answer to that.
And let's not make a lot of work for you, so your emails don't get dragged into that suit.
I'm happy to ask the question if NACs were to do something like that, what would the ramifications be? I'm happy to ask that question.
Okay.
And I will do that and get back to you. And I can email the answer out to the board before the next meeting if I get an answer that soon.
Well, okay.
And what I do know about the case is that the city's hired an outside legal counsel to handle it. And that's pretty much all that they would tell me when I asked.
I guess, yeah. I mean,
That's why I
know
was trying to get a
that's-
hold of
yeah.
the filings, so I could see the claims that are going back and forth. And I can get that from an attorney that has access to that.
Yeah, I guess because I know you and I kind of talked about this offline a little bit. I guess kind of my support piece would be too, and this is maybe Miles, this would be the city being more okay with this. But like, I know that there's been some conversation and some public statements about it in like the city magazine as different, obviously pretty tight-lipped and pretty neutral on it. But if as the NAC, we could maybe, use this as, hey, this is a starting point, do your own research piece. Because even the neutral stuff definitely can elicit strong opinion.
Yeah. Let me ask the question from the city attorney. I really have no idea to what the answer would be. I could see it both ways, so I don't want to give anyone advice that's going to harm the NAC or individuals or the city without checking with a lawyer.
Okay. Well, let's stop giving you heartburn tonight
Okay.
and move on to the tree committee activity. And I know we're missing Reggie, but Annie, is there anything?
So
you'd like
Reggie
to
is
say?
actually on, he's just listed as a regular phone person. So Reggie, if you're there to unmute.
Oh, we need
How
to,
does he unmute?
I'm giving him permission to talk. Okay. It's *6. Okay, go ahead, Reggie. I don't think.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I would like to just request if we can postpone the tree subcommittee update for another 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. Let's do that, and let's move on to our administrative activity then, and we'll come back to it. We have April meeting minutes that need to be reviewed and approved. Konnette has prepared them. Do we have any changes, or is there a motion to approve them?
I will make a motion to approve the April minutes.
Is there a second on that motion?
I will second it.
Seconded by Juanita. Any further discussion or changes? All
No.
in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Oh, okay. We got Reggie there. Annie, could you give the treasurer's report?
Yes. So our balance as of today is $2,777.76. If I pull up April's, give me just a moment, sorry. So we had 2 payments in April, or 2 withdrawals in April, totaling $60. And that was for the gift cards as part of the tree giveaway back in January. We also had a deposit of $500, which came from the city to help our balance. And then I did get the reimbursement for the tree giveaway, or sorry, tree planting event back in November, deposited in April. So that was a $2,153.91 deposit. This month, which obviously it hasn't shown up on the statement yet. Sorry, just trying to see if I can pull it up. I did send a check to Highland Mountain Nursery for the trees that we bought back in April or in January. And that was an $1,100 check that I sent. Konnette, let me make sure. I am going to need to make a motion. I need to make a motion to write Konnette a check. And I need to pull up the amount for $42.56 for her supplies that she bought for the Ivy event that we didn't actually give her approval prior to the event because THPRD was going to cover most of the stuff, but I would like to reimburse Konnette for the supplies that she bought out of the NACs.
I had approval to spend less than $60.
Oh, you did? Okay, sounds great. Perfect. And then I just need the motion to write her the check for $42.56.
Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Juanita seconds. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 And then two other kind of quick
Aye.
on the treasurer's report. Reggie's gonna give more of an update, but he is still working on the NAC reimbursement for the tree giveaway that was in January, so it will increase our balance. And then just to keep on our radar, as we do some more event planning, because fall tends to be our bigger time. I think we did those 3 back-to-back events this past fall and winter, and it worked really well, but it was trying to kind of get all the funding back from the city and making sure that we are still okay with our budget. Just kind of as people have ideas and things like that, just kind of keeping that in mind. And one other thing that I just want to kind of see if we can start to do is not have to put so much burden on individual residents to front costs for these projects. But we have the balance. I have the debit card. That's kind of the point of the NAC, is to be doing these projects so that individual residents don't feel like they have to take on the initial costs and then eventually get reimbursed. So just nothing of action, just things to kind of keep in mind.
Reggie, are you ready to do the tree committee update?
Yeah, I'm gonna log into the meeting over video momentarily. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, let's have Miles give his updates while we're waiting for you there. So Miles, could you go ahead?
Yep. Pretty short updates tonight. Earlier this evening, we had the city manager finalists at a virtual public event. I believe that they recorded that and they will post it on the city's website if you didn't get a chance to see it before the NAC meeting. They took questions from the community, and there is a survey to assess community preferences that will be distributed to help with the decisions. And I think you'll have to go to the city's website to take that survey. The appointment by city council of the not permanent city manager, but the long-term city manager is expected to occur this summer. They've extended the free tax help. So Cash Oregon and Metropolitan Family Services will continue to offer tax preparation and filing service through Thursday, July 15th to Beaverton residents. As you know, the IRS extended the tax deadline to the 17th of this month. But beginning May 27th, assistance will continue after the deadline, with services offered Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. You need to call 503-966-7942 to make an appointment. So if you know anybody who is lower income and needs help filing their taxes, especially in such a weird tax year with unemployment and the tax implications there, please refer them to this service. And it's on the city's website as well. And city council meetings are moving to 6 p.m. Instead of 6:30 during the current state of emergency, starting this month. That's all the updates I have, very short.
Do you know why the city council meetings are moving up?
I would make an educated guess that they have a lot of business to attend to these days, and that they just need that extra time to work through them.
Okay.
I think it's also hard for part-time city councilors to work so late on city business into the evening. Some of the meetings go very late.
Was someone else trying to ask a question? You can go ahead.
Yeah, just one quick question and one follow-up question. What is the contract term for the current interim city manager?
It was for 6 months. I would have to look, but I think it expires July.
In July. Okay. So is it going to be a back-to-back, or is there going to be any kind of gap?
I believe that city council is eager to have the person start as soon as possible. So I think they want to avoid any kind of.
Okay, it sounds good. So then one other kind of follow-up question that ties into these pieces about traffic calming, which obviously is a big theme of tonight. I know that City Council had a really great session with Traffic Commission about trying to look at this program. And there were some questions that were asked by the City Councilor that Allison asked, and they weren't able to answer at that time. And I know when I asked Traffic Commission, they said they were still getting those answers put together. I don't know if they've gotten back to the city at all, or if you can find out, or otherwise I can.
I can say something about that.
Sure. Can I just ask that? So the three questions that were asked that were not able to get answered at the city council meeting when votes go out to residents about whether or not they want to approve a traffic calming measure, are they anonymous? The second question was what public data is available about how many projects have started the process versus actually gone all the way through and passed? And three, what public data is available about how many projects have failed due to actual no votes cast versus non-return surveys?
So the part of that I forward both to Lacey, and I couldn't answer the anonymous question, but I forwarded both to Lacey and to Allison that table that you saw that had the information about return votes, and that was what she was asking for, is how many votes sent out, how many returned, and that sort of thing.
But
so
I was wondering on kind of a city level, because those are just the highlights of in our neighborhood are the most recent ones. But this has been a 20-year program.
Right. And then so prior to that, there was another table of mostly past projects that started in 1999 and went on up to 2018. That was sent to us as being a list of the projects that had happened. I was told that there was one missing from that list for West Slope, but at this point we're assuming that is a fairly representative list of projects. If you combine that list with the 4 failed projects, that would be a complete list.
Okay.
In addition, there are 2 more projects that are going on right now that were selected for this year.
Sounds good. And then on that third piece, has there been any data collected on what it constitutes a no vote because it was returned as no versus a no vote because it was not returned?
Yes, there are separate categories. A no vote, it has to be checked no. There is also an abstain vote. When that is checked, then the abstain vote is taken off of the total number of votes, and calculations are made from that figure. So calculations are made from designated votes minus abstained votes.
We do need to try to get to the rest of our agenda because we're
sorry.
starting to burn time
You
that
can
we
call me
don't
later.
have. So Reggie, can we get you to do your committee presentation?
Hi, everyone. Yeah,
Oh
we have a lot to update as far as the tree subcommittee, of which Annie's a member, but everyone here always ends up helping out, so we're all in it together. The first item is the Evelyn Schiffler Park tree planting memorandum of understanding with Central Beaverton NAC and THPRD, Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District. Basically, for some background, some residents, including John, our former NAC chair here, have come together and through the Central Beaverton NAC have come to support and plan out a project for tree planting in Schiffler Park. specifically an area of the park right along Erickson Avenue. The feedback from NAC members, and I share this sentiment, has been pretty unanimous of support for tree planting and the need for shade as a way to help improve the park experience, especially around the playgrounds and play areas, as well as help address the climate crisis and destruction of tree canopy in the surrounding neighborhood over time. So we're devising a plan to plant about a dozen trees with THPRD. This is moving along pretty quickly. Previous meeting, we had voted or decided as a NAC to support collaborating with Central Beaverton NAC to help make this tree planting event happen. So we're looking at winter, so January, February, or March of 2022. So once we kind of go over the terms of the MOU, and I'll ask for the board to vote on approving it, or at least allowing me to sign on behalf of the NAC, as there may still be small changes to it as we send it to THPRD for approval. Then Central Beaverton NAC will be able to submit a matching grant to the city of Beaverton. It's their intention, and that'll be the primary funding mechanism pending approval. So, but it has a really solid backing. At this time, I'm going to try to share my screen. So basically, it's 3 pages. Can everyone see this? Okay, perfect. So this is just a MOU that the Park District has requested between different parties for this project. This is standard operating procedure. Basically, this is just to distinguish, clarify roles and responsibilities for the tree planting. And this is coming about over both of our NAC's mutual interest of bringing neighbors together to plant and steward trees in parks and our city for the benefit of the public environment. Basically, Central Beaverton NAC has some commitments. They're leading this as it's within their NAC, so naturally it would be of interest to them first and foremost. So basically, our role is, as Highland NAC outlined here, is we're providing consultation, direct assistance on the matching grant, tree selection, the tree order, coordinating the event, and any follow-up maintenance to the trees. Just help share our knowledge base. Many of you have supported at a tree planting event at some point, so we all are starting to gain that collective knowledge and all those experiences adding up. So it's important to share that with other NACs and help uplift them. But of course, there's a lot of interest there. We're coordinating around THPRD with the details of the planting on behalf of both NACs, just to have a single point of contact for more technical things. We're going to help provide event supplies like our fold-out canopy and tables and anything else that Central Beaverton may not have already. We'll coordinate with Central Beaverton to secure water, so help work with them to connect to neighbors around the park who might be willing to allow volunteers to use their water sources over the summer to keep the trees maintained. This is a primarily volunteer-driven effort throughout the whole process, not just planting at an event. And then lastly, coordinate structural pruning on the new trees. To correct any defects or just raise the base of the canopy over time in line with the park district standards and regular standards within the arboriculture industry. Also, we'll provide emergency maintenance or replacement if the tree fails or is vandalized. Unfortunately, that does happen. but it's always worth it to go back and address it. So we'll have that power. And then just monitor the trees for like the hardware, so to speak, removing tree stakes and protectors when we believe they're no longer needed. So THPRD will leave stakes in the ground for a year, just support volunteers in these tasks. Be mindful of the trees as far as maintaining around them with machinery, support volunteers replacing the trees. I should probably go over Central Beaverton in summary. So of course they're reviewing and approving major decisions before they're sent to the Park District and or the city for final approval. So again, they're taking the lead. Submitting the application for the neighborhood matching grant. That'll be through their NAC. They're going to help conduct outreach for the project, help connect potential volunteers within their NAC to helping steward the trees after planting and particularly watering them. They're also going to cover the cost of the tree order and any planting event expenses such as food or drinks out of their treasury, with the idea that it'll be reimbursed. So that is awesome of them to be willing to take that on. And then also just help provide monitoring. They are the residents in the neighborhood first and foremost. So, we really want to empower them to have a greater sense of ownership over the park and caring for the trees and keeping an eye on them. So basically that's it. We'll just report various things to THPRD in the city as needed. Volunteer hours will be counted, both for the matching grant and then any ongoing volunteer hours for THPRD. And then the time frame is listed here. Basically, we'll continue to update you throughout the next few months as the subcommittee on where this is going. But basically, once we hope to have this officially approved by the city as like a matching grant project by like the end of the summer, and then we're going to start to reach out to THPRD to help coordinate the volunteering. This definitely has the potential to be more than just the tree planting. THPRD is really good at organizing volunteer events, so we'll have a lot of support as far as what else volunteers might be able to do in addition to planting. And then the MOU is through October 1st, 2024, and just a rough date on when we expect the last, maybe the last trees to be pruned or replaced or maintained or whatnot. And we do hope, this is not represented in the MOU with this part, but we do hope to continue tree planting over the next several years. This is of course a long-term goal, and we'll have to see where everything goes, but the intent is to continue tree planting throughout the rest of the park over time. Any modifications can be done in writing, and we can terminate this MOU on a 3-day written notice.
Reggie, was that a motion to sign the MOU?
Well, I wanted to thoroughly go over it so that everyone kind of knew what we were agreeing to. I think that transparency is important. But now that I've covered it, the 3 pages, I'd like to make a motion to have the authority to sign the MOU on behalf of the NAC and enter into this agreement as a NAC, pending small edits as we send it to THPRD for final approval. But it'll be basically this.
Is there a second to Reggie's motion so we can start discussion?
I second.
Discussion?
A lot of this work in the next 3-year monitoring period, is that what it is, a 3-year monitoring after the trees are in?
Yeah, basically we'll be kind of keeping an eye on the trees for a while, but it'll really be Central Beaverton NAC volunteers leading that as people on the subcommittee, their sustainability subcommittee, who we're working directly with, live within close walking distance of the park, so it's a natural fit.
So they've agreed to take that on as their share of the work?
Mm-hmm.
Is to continue, okay.
Yeah, we'll all be in the monitoring together. It's not necessarily extra work, but it'll just be as simple as walking by the tree and reporting anything that seems off or missing.
Reggie, do we already have some of these in effect? or is this completely new?
This is completely new and specific to this proposed project. Oh, and here's the attachment that's going with the MOU. So this is the planting plan. We're calling for black tupelo street trees, a red maple in the front, ponderosa pines and giant sequoias in established mulch areas with existing large trees around to help reestablish and strengthen the groves. Green base silcovas is shade trees to help shade the play area and little windy trail here. And then a grand fir to add towards the play structure to help enhance the nature play area and help further shade the playground. So it's the start. And this is undergoing pending approval. So there may be small changes to this, but again, this is largely what it will look like. And yeah.
Reggie, I didn't see any financial cost in there for us. Is that correct?
That's correct. The financial costs will be
Central Beaverton will handle the initial.
Yeah, but we are in kind donating as far as the canopy and tables, you know, any other supplies that we can afford to help them out with and all that.
Okay.
And then one more question. The volunteer hours that are supplied by Highland neighborhood people, they're credited to who?
Those will, well, it depends on who's doing what, but as far as any one of our Highland NAC members involved with this project, including myself and Annie as tree subcommittee members, that will be counted towards the matching grant. And once the reimbursement request has been submitted to the city, then any volunteer hours after that would in theory be collected and recorded by the park district. And that's part of the discussion that we'll have at the end of the summer with THPRD, like how to record that. Any further discussion? Or,
All right, hearing no further discussion, let's vote on the measure. For board members in favor of approving the MOU, please say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed? The motion carries. Reggie, please sign that and then make sure that a copy gets to Konnette and I.
All right, sounds good. The next item on our agenda is the yard tree giveaway. So I submitted the reimbursement request form that week or this week. Miles may be able to confirm if he's received it via email.
Yeah, I've received it. Check should go out next week.
Oh,
Thanks.
thank you, Miles. That's awesome to hear. So it was a successful project. Thank you to everyone who was involved. We generated a little over 54 volunteer hours. So that was about $1,400 of value that we generated just there. $287 of in-kind donations, including like donated food, donated trees from various community members, and then personal supplies. Also, thank you, Konnette, for bringing the coffee the day of the event. That was awesome. We counted that in there. The expenses were $1,235.50. We acquired 67 trees. We purchased 55 of those, and 12 were donated. The total cost per tree, when you do factor in, excuse me, the free trees, was a little over $15. So that's pretty much what I was expecting and aiming for, which is awesome. And we got trees distributed to 14 households. And not just that, our impact went even further. We got we donated 7 trees to Beaverton Garden Club, which will be they'll be sold at their fundraiser on Saturday. Everyone should check them out Saturday morning in downtown Beaverton. I think 21 trees got planted in Fir Grove Park as part of a recent THPRD volunteer event. So thanks to the Park District for collaborating and supporting that with extra volunteer help. And then one tree died in its pot. So all the trees were accounted for. We have 5 that we're holding on for next year as well. So we'll expect to close that out when we get that reimbursement check. The last thing is the Murmuring Pines tree planting. This is the name of the proposed upcoming project that the tree subcommittee is heading. This is just another one of our, I guess, annual tree planting events focusing on planting street trees and yard trees. It'll be very, very similar to our recent November Wilson Park tree planting. I assume that we'll still have COVID restrictions in place until we hear otherwise. So we already have a pretty good model of how to do that. We're going to be aiming for 25 trees in the subdivision neighborhood area between 130th, Allen, Hall, and 22nd. This is a high priority area. It's lower tree canopy. It's a historically lower income section, but it has a lot of really nice existing trees. So hopefully we'll help increase public stewardship of their little part of the urban forest there. So I'd like to, start a matching grant and get the authority to submit that. And I'd also like to request a $3,000 budget, which is the full limit of the matching grant. Additionally, I'd like to set a date. So just consistent with the last 2 years, this tree planting event would take place on Sunday, November 14th from 1 to 4 p.m. It seems like that's a pretty good time. So before I make a motion, I'd like to open that up to discussion if anyone has any thoughts or feedback. Okay.
Reggie, do we actually anticipate having the funds in the treasury to spend at that time? They won't be committed and waiting for a return from another project?
Well, we will have to coordinate with other projects that are slated for that time, but there will be the trees will be covered and the cost of the project will be covered one way or another. We will work to have sufficient treasury at that time to help cover the costs. Also try to spread out any expenses to not deplete the treasury like all at once, so we can help minimize our impact that way. But we'll continue to coordinate. Annie, our treasurer, is of course on our subcommittee, so she'll be working closely with.
So I can add some clarification there. So kind of what our revolving funds end up being is about just under $4,000. And very infrequently do we spend money that's not reimbursed by the city. So it is a matter of, do we have any other plans for the fall? Because as soon as I get that check from Miles, we'll have enough for the $3,000. So the question is, are we planning on spending money between now and November? And do we have events planned after November?
We had talked about having an additional ivy weeding project for the Tualatin Park in the fall. That hasn't been scheduled yet.
Okay.
At the last event, we had 19 people attend, and we did that in partnership with THPRD, and it was a big project, and not all of the ivy was removed, so we thought we would need to have another date in the fall, and also that would be a time when bushes could be planted to help with ground nesting birds. I could work with Reggie on coordinating that, and we could just rely a little more heavily on THPRD for volunteers?
I guess it would be more on the funding piece.
Right. The funding.
Because at our original IV one that you did, we got the reimbursement because the NAC paid for the truck. But on this most recent one, THPRD did. So I guess that
Yeah,
would be the further discussion. That just, kind of as we talk about this,
So
what we
yeah, the
have
cost-
is 3,900 in the treasury. So if we're trying to move to the place of having the NAC pay for things versus residents pick stuff up and then me writing the check to pay, that's what we have available. So if we are planning an IV event as well, are we not maybe at the point where we could pass this motion for the $3,000 this month? Do we need to have a larger discussion next month about budgetary and planning? Or Adam, what are your thoughts on this?
Reggie, is it possible that you could
We
wait?
could wait till next month.
Could you wait till next
You
month?
could.
To propose the project.
Yeah, to coordinate with Konnette on the Taliesin.
Yeah,
Time.
that's okay. We do have time.
Maybe the two of you can coordinate and we can make sure that we don't commit more funds than we have.
Yeah, because the funds is one thing, but also we're competing for volunteers sometimes when we do that as well.
Sure. We'll especially need to coordinate the dates then and double check.
Okay. Are you done with tree committee? We're seriously running into overtime here.
Yeah, the last thing is if anyone would like to help adopt a tree, we have some trees planted at the middle school. We need to keep watered over the summer. So we already have Adam and Kate who have volunteered to do that. Thank you so much. Please contact me separately if you're willing to or interested to help water a tree over the summer. Thanks. That's everything.
And let's just take a few moments for visitor comments. I see we have a visitor with us, Mr. Sibayan, who is running for city council. And I just want to explain why I have not invited all the city council candidates, because there are 4 of them. But we'll give you a minute here to introduce yourself in visitor comments. So why don't you go ahead, since you haven't spoken yet.
Okay, thank you. And actually, there's only 2 people running for city council. Do I literally have 1 minute or do I have 2 minutes?
You can have 2.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, my name's Jerome Sibayan, and I'm a candidate for Beaverton City Council because I am a public servant and I want to serve the people of Beaverton with honor, integrity, and respect. My platform is the crazy notion that government exists to serve all of the people. I am the son of Filipino immigrants and was raised in Salem. I now live in the Vos neighborhood, just a few blocks south of the main library. I am a veteran. I am a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel. I served for 28 years in war and peace around the world and throughout the United States. I am a licensed professional engineer with bachelor's and master's degrees in civil engineering. As a former public works director, I understand the importance of infrastructure to a sustainable and resilient city. I am an educator with I'm an educator with master's and doctorate degrees in history and political science. I taught courses at Portland State University on healthcare inequities and human rights. And I currently teach graduate courses on national security and critical thinking at the Army War College. Like you, I am a community volunteer. I have served the people of Beaverton through the Human Rights Advisory Commission, Social Services Funding Committee, Community Emergency Response Team, Beaverton Severe Weather Shelter, Beaverton School District Bond Accountability Committee, Metro's Get Moving 2020 Transportation Infrastructure Investment Team, and Home Plate for Homeless Youth Board of Directors. I also serve with Engineers Without Borders, Community Engineering Corps, and the Education First Scholarship Foundation, all benefiting traditionally underserved communities. I am grateful that my military pension and ongoing teaching allows me to continue my long tradition of public service and to self-fund my campaign. If elected, I will donate all after-tax counselor compensation to local nonprofits right here in Beaverton. I hope to serve the people of Beaverton with honor, integrity, and respect. And just a reminder, tomorrow is the last day to put your ballot in the mail and make sure it safely gets received. Otherwise, you have until 8 p.m. on May 18th to put your ballot in one of the ballot drop boxes. So thank you for that.
Jerome, did a bunch of candidates drop out? Is that why you said there's only 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There are 5 names on the ballot and only 2 of us are actually running.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is
Thank you.
bad.
It would have been nice to know that.
Yeah, well, it's I'm not going to comment on that. But
Okay. Any other comments from anybody? Any topic before we wrap up?
Can I make my motion really quickly? So I make a motion that we make a resolution to send to City Council and the Traffic Commission that states that the Highland NAC supports the City Council's effort to expand the funding of the traffic calming project. We would like to see more options supported by the Traffic Commission for traffic calming beyond speed bumps, even if they are more expensive.
Is there a second on this motion?
I'll second it.
Second.
Oh,
Sounds like Reggie got it.
Oh, let Reggie.
Further discussion on this?
Okay.
Ryan, are you trying to chime in here? He says no. Okay. If there's no discussion, we'll vote on the motion now. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Okay. Konnette, I will email you the 2 past motions that were typed in the chat because it downloads to my computer afterwards.
I know there's a way to do that. I just have to figure it out.
I'll get the text out. for you.
Then Adam, as chair, will you send that to City Council and to the Traffic Commission?
It will be in the minutes and we can write a letter quoting it.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Yes, it'll be incorporated in the NAC responses table that will be presented by CCI as well.
Okay. With that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And the recording is stopping. Have a good evening.
thank you.
do all
Thank
next
you.